Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the fascinating lives of history's most influential figures. I'm your host, General Biography, and today we're exploring the remarkable life of Lucius Sulla, a man whose strategic genius, personal flaws, and unyielding ambition would forever change the course of Roman history. Born on July 12, 1308 BCE in Rome, Italy, Lucius Cornelius Sulla Felix was the son of Lucius Cornelius Sulla, a member of the noble patrician family of the Cornelii. Although his family's lineage was illustrious, their financial situation was modest, and Sulla's early life was marked by a sense of insecurity and a desire to prove himself. His father, a man of limited means, would have played an important role in shaping Sulla's early life and ambitions, instilling in him the importance of discipline, hard work, and resourcefulness. As a young boy, Sulla would have received a traditional Roman education, studying Greek, Latin, literature, and philosophy under the tutelage of experienced teachers. He would have also undergone rigorous physical training, including sword fighting, javelin throwing, and hand-to-hand combat, which were essential skills for any aspiring Roman soldier. The smell of freshly cut grass and the sound of clashing swords would have been familiar to Sulla, as he trained in the city's many public gymnasia. Sulla's family lived in a modest house on the Quirinal Hill, one of the 7 hills of Rome, surrounded by the bustling streets and markets of the ancient city. The air would have been thick with the smells of fresh bread, olives, and smoke from the nearby kitchens and workshops. As he grew older, Sulla would have become increasingly aware of the social tensions in Rome, where the wealthy elite held power and influence, while the common people struggled to make ends meet. The historical context of Sulla's early years was marked by significant events that would shape his future path. The Gracchi brothers' attempts to reform Roman society and politics would have been a major talking point during Sulla's youth, with their populist agendas and tragic ends likely shaping his views on governance and power. The Roman Republic was also engaged in a series of wars in Spain, Greece, and North Africa, conflicts that not only expanded Roman territories but also brought immense wealth and slaves into the city, further exacerbating social tensions. As Sulla entered adulthood, he became acquainted with prominent figures of the time, including the influential statesman and general, Marius. Through Marius, Sulla gained invaluable military experience and insight into the political machinations of Rome, lessons that he would apply in his future campaigns. The two men would have walked along the banks of the Tiber River, discussing politics, war, and philosophy as the sun set over the city. In addition to his formal education and military training, Sulla's early life was also marked by a sense of family duty and loyalty. His relationship with his father and other family members would have played an important role in shaping his values and ambitions. The fact that Sulla's family was not particularly wealthy or influential would have meant that he had to rely on his own abilities and resourcefulness to succeed, rather than relying on the privilege and prestige of a noble birth. As Sulla entered adulthood, he became increasingly involved in Roman politics and warfare. His early military career was marked by distinction, particularly during the Cimbric Wars, where he served under the command of Marius. The two men would have walked along the banks of the Tiber River, discussing politics, war, and philosophy as the sun set over the city. Sulla's experiences during this period not only honed his military skills but also deepened his understanding of Roman politics and the intricacies of power. One of Sulla's most notable early achievements was his role in the capture of Jugurtha, the Numidian king, in 105 BCE. This victory earned him widespread recognition and praise, as well as the coveted grass crown, Rome's highest military honor. The smell of freshly cut grass and the sound of cheering crowds would have been familiar to Sulla as he basked in the adoration of his peers. However, Sulla's rise to prominence was not without controversy. His relationship with Marius, once a mentor and friend, began to fray as they found themselves on opposite sides of Rome's increasingly divided political landscape. The two men would have engaged in heated debates, their voices raised in argument as they navigated the treacherous waters of Roman politics. In 95 BCE, Sulla was appointed governor of Cilicia, a province in southeastern Asia Minor. During his tenure, he successfully campaigned against the Pontic king, Mithridates VI, and expanded Rome's influence in the region. The rugged landscape of Cilicia, with its snow-capped mountains and fertile valleys, would have been a far cry from the bustling streets of Rome, but Sulla proved himself adaptable and effective in this new environment. Sulla's military successes were matched by his growing reputation as a skilled politician. He formed alliances with influential Romans, including the powerful noble family, the Metelli, and began to build a network of supporters who would aid him in his future ambitions. The sound of clinking glasses and the smell of fine wine would have been familiar to Sulla as he negotiated and schemed with his allies. As we explore Sulla's adult life, it becomes clear that his actions were motivated by a complex mix of ambition, loyalty, and a desire for recognition. His experiences during this period, including his relationships with Marius and other prominent Romans, would shape his future decisions and ultimately contribute to the dramatic events that would unfold. In 88 BCE, Sulla was elected consul, Rome's highest office, and began to implement a series of reforms aimed at strengthening the Roman Republic. However, his efforts were opposed by Marius and his allies, who saw Sulla as a threat to their own power and influence. The stage was set for a bitter struggle between these two men, one that would have far-reaching consequences for Rome. In 88 BCE, Sulla's conflict with Marius came to a head when he was ordered to lead an army against Mithridates VI in Asia Minor. However, Marius and his allies attempted to strip Sulla of his command, prompting him to take drastic action. With the support of his legions, Sulla marched on Rome, an unprecedented move that would have far-reaching consequences for the Roman Republic. The sound of clashing steel and the smell of smoke would have filled the air as Sulla's army approached the city. Sulla's march on Rome was a calculated risk, driven by his determination to assert his authority and protect his own interests. As he entered the city, he was met with resistance from Marius and his supporters, but ultimately emerged victorious. The aftermath of this conflict saw Marius flee to Africa while Sulla remained in Rome, determined to consolidate his power. In 82 BCE, Sulla returned to Rome after a successful campaign against Mithridates VI and was appointed dictator, a position that granted him absolute authority over the Roman Republic. During his dictatorship, Sulla implemented a series of reforms aimed at strengthening the Roman state and consolidating his own power. He reformed the Roman Senate, expanded the Roman citizenry, and established a new system of governance that would shape the course of Roman history. However, Sulla's dictatorship was also marked by violence and repression. He proscribed many of his enemies, including Marius and his supporters, and ordered their executions or forced them into exile. The streets of Rome would have run red with blood as Sulla's agents carried out their master's orders. Despite this, Sulla's reforms had a lasting impact on the Roman Republic, paving the way for the rise of future leaders like Julius Caesar and Augustus. In 79 BCE, Sulla retired from public life, leaving behind a legacy that would be debated by historians for centuries to come. His impact on the Roman Republic was profound, shaping the course of Roman history and influencing the development of the Roman state. As we reflect on Sulla's later life, it becomes clear that his actions were driven by a complex mix of ambition, loyalty, and a desire for recognition. In conclusion, Lucius Sulla's life was marked by both brilliant achievements and devastating consequences. His march on Rome, his dictatorship, and the lasting impact he had on the Roman Republic continue to fascinate historians and scholars today. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm General Biography, reminding you to keep marching toward victory.